Welcome back, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in to a brand new Cabral Concept. This episode 3049. I'm mentioning that right now because we're going to be going over the top 4 ways, and I would consider many of them better ways than the typical mammogram that many women are using right now for early breast cancer detection. So I'm going to share all of the research, all of the links, the synopsis over at stevencabral.com/3049. Let's dive into the show here today. I'm excited to go over this because one of the things that I'd love to be able to do is learn about new health technology and share that for early detection. So right now, your typical PCP or doctor will tell you that the only way that women should be testing for breast cancer in early detection is by getting a mammogram. Here's the issue. A mammogram right now, and I'm going to be fair, I'm going to go through all of the advantages and potential disadvantages of all 4 early detection formulas to go through for women. And a mammogram, out of all of them, carries the most risk. The problem is women are not being given a second opinion. They're not being given an alternative to a mammogram, so they're following what their doctors say, and they say, okay, yes, I'll go for the mammogram, even though there is a potential risk for cancer by using and getting the mammogram itself. All right, let's go through this right now. So the first I want to share with you before we get to mammogram, before we get to a few other modalities, and the reason for this show, I do want to share, and again, I always love to be able to give credit where credit's due. One of our IHPs asked me during one of our monthly workshops where I answer all of their questions, am I familiar with and have I heard of the quantitative transmission ultrasound tomography based methodology for breast cancer based detection? And I said, you know what? Heard of it. Haven't looked into it, don't know that much about it, can't give you a clear answer right now. Why don't I go and research it? And of course, that's exactly what I did. Now that research, though, led to some very interesting uncoverings. And some of those I want to share with you here today. Okay, so the first one I want to go over is thermography. Many people in the natural health-based field recommend thermography for early detection. I'm going to go over its advantages and disadvantages and go over whether I think it's the right modality and methodology for many women. All right, so thermography basically uses digital infrared thermal imaging that detects heat patterns and blood flow in any part of the body. So you could do a full body thermography if you'd like. And what it looks for is basically different areas of density, circulation, and blood flow. So the advantages are this: there's no radiation, right? So there's no harmful effects of radiation. It's non-invasive. You're basically having an infrared screening done of your body, and it does help with potential early detection of cancerous tumors, cysts, structural-based changes. Important to look at that. Now, the disadvantages is this: it is not as clear, it's not as definitive as the other 3 methodologies that I'm going to recommend here today. So while it's potentially the least invasive, it is the least definitive as well. There's not a lot of approval of this particular device, especially as an early detection-based modality. Okay, so does it warrant consideration? And does it have merit? Yeah, the answer is yes, absolutely. Because it's so non-invasive that it's very easy for anyone to do a full body, or just for women to do a breast-based exam using this thermal imaging to look for potential issues, cancer, right? Cysts, development, tumors, etc. The problem is it may not catch all of them, right? So that's one of the issues. All right, so now let's move on to methodology number 2, and I'll give you my pick at the end. So mammography is number 2. This is considered the gold standard and always has now for decades for early detection breast cancer screening. So although it has a lot of efficacy and it is, as I said before, the gold standard in early detection, we know that it does come with some real potential risks. Now, I want to share with you, this was, and I'll link up the research for you today, Princeton Radiology, I've got Biomed Central, and another Princeton-based review in this. According to studies, the lifetime attributable risk, LAR, of developing breast cancer from an annual mammogram performed between the ages of 40 years old and 80 years old is about 20 to 25 cases per 100,000 women. Another disadvantage, we'll go back to that in just one moment. We're not glazing over it. Discomfort, basically with the mammogram. A mammogram is essentially an x-ray, and they're compressing a woman's breast between two panels. So basically compressing that breast tissue between two panels to get the best x-ray that they can. And it's not as effective in women with denser breast tissue, leading to potential false negatives, meaning there is something there, but it wasn't able to detect it. Now let's go back. I do not, again, this is my opinion, I'm not providing any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, medical diagnosis, but I do not believe that radiating a woman's breast every year or every 5 years for decades only leads to 25 cases per 100,000 women. Now, we know it's still at least 25, but that number to me is outlandishly low. Because how are you saying that this was definitely attributable to the mammogram, you got breast cancer? Why couldn't you just say, woman got breast cancer, and the mammogram picked it up? So I find this a little bit dubious in this research. I will link the research up for you. And it does show that there's risk, but you're literally radiating breast tissue, right? You're putting the machine right up, you're compressing the breast tissue, and you are x-raying it. Some of the most sensitive tissue in the body is the prostate on a male and the breast tissue on a woman. And I just don't buy it. I don't believe that this is only 25 cases per 100,000 women. Now, it's still a lot of cases, but still, I can't believe that. Anyway, you're welcome to come to your own conclusions. I'm just giving you my opinion. Okay. The next methodology is the quantitative transmission ultrasound tomography. This is the one that's more new to me, so I did my research on it. Here's what's being shown. The advantage is there's no radiation. It uses ultrasound or sound waves, eliminating the risk for ionizing-based radiation like the mammogram has. No breast compression is required, making it a little bit more comfortable, and it is particularly effective for women with dense breast tissue, and I'll link up those studies as well. So more effective, actually, than mammograms, especially for women who have been told they have dense breast tissue. Now, the disadvantages, it's less widely available. It's a newer-based technology. So since it's newer, it isn't as widely available, it's not going to be offered to as many women. But that doesn't mean that you, as a woman, can't ask your doctor for this if you choose to. No radiation, still works great, and great for dense breast tissue. So that seems like a big win there. All right, let's go with the last methodology. Non-contrast torso MRI. Here's what it looks at. It is an MRI machine. So you do go into, basically you lie in a bed, you get put inside of the MRI machine, and then it is non-radiating based MRI. And it's going to look at cancer, not just in the breast, but it can look just for breast cancer. It can look at the entire torso. You can do a full body, you can look at the full body, but I'm just talking about the less expensive torso one. So it doesn't use ionizing radiation, making it safe for repeated use, and it's very effective, and very effective also for women with dense breast tissue as well. The downsides, generally more costly. That's one of the issues. So your insurance may cover it, but it might be a little bit more of a cost. There's more of a to-do. It's a little bit more limited. Your doctor is going to be less likely to give the green light, the go-ahead for that. And it could be a little uncomfortable for those individuals who are more claustrophobic. They don't like to be inside of the MRI-based machine. Having said that, there's no downside for the radiation. Not only can you look at breast cancer detection, it can look at all the major organs of the body for cancer as well at the same time. Something that a mammogram isn't going to do, the ultrasound before that isn't going to do, and thermography can. So there's actually no doubt about it. Thermography could do that. You could look at the entire torso as well. So when I'm now giving recommendations, and I'm not giving medical advice, but if I'm talking to my own mom, or I'm talking to my wife, or someone in my family, and I'm saying, what's the best one to do for you? This is how I'm ranking it. I'm saying the least invasive is going to be the thermography. However, it is not going to give me the definitive A-OK that I'm looking to give a family member. So I'm moving that to the side. It's not a bad one to do. Still think it's great. But if it finds something, it found something. But if it didn't, I can't be sure that it didn't miss something. Okay. The next is the mammogram. Am I recommending a mammogram ever for my mom or my wife? The answer is no. There's a no. And here's why. It's not that I don't think that there's benefit to early detection. Of course I do, right? There's no doubt about it. The reason I'm not recommending the mammogram is because we have two safer and as effective alternatives. That's why. So even if it is only 25 cases out of 100,000, who's to say who's the 25 cases? I'm not taking that chance, right? So now I'm deciding between the quantitative transmission ultrasound tomography and the torso MRI. Which one am I choosing? Well, there's pros to both. Honestly, the ultrasound is very simple. You go in, specific tech is able to use an ultrasound-based machine, very quick, 15 to 20 minutes most likely, procedure to look to see if there's any hard-based tumors or cysts, right? Even in dense breast tissue. It's probably going to be a little bit lower cost than the full body MRI. It's a great one that you can choose from. Here's the why I'm recommending the torso or full body MRI. The reason is that although it's important for early detection for breast cancer, it's as important to look at the kidneys, the adrenals, the thyroid, the liver, the pancreas, the spleen, right? The lymph nodes. I want to look at cancer in the entire body, not just the breasts. Women aren't just affected by breast cancer. They're affected by pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, right? Many other types of cancer. So what I want to do is look at multiple potential cancers all at once. And by doing a torso or full body MRI, I'm able to get that. This is what I teach inside of High Performance Health. You can learn more about that at highperformancehealth.org. But I try to share this as much as I can with people all over the world. At the Reimagine Health Summit last year, I talked about why this is on my top 3 to 5 annual base tests that everybody should run. Now, if you're younger, okay, get the A-OK, get the all clear, and then maybe you do it every 3 years or so. If you're middle age, maybe you do it once every year or two, or maybe you do a full body MRI, and then you do maybe the quantitative transmission ultrasound tomography if breast cancer might run in your family the next year or two, and then go back to the torso MRI. For me, if cost isn't the issue and you want to do this on your own, what I'm recommending is that you just set up an annual torso or full body MRI that looks at early detection over the entire body. And when you do that, you get the peace of mind, 1, no radiation, and number 2, that it's not going to miss something that's there. Now, sometimes there could be a false positive, and that's the downside. People say, well, you shouldn't do it because of, well, the thing is, if it's just a harmless cyst or hemangioma or something else like that, good, you can rule it out. But if it really is something, you want to detect it when it's stage 1. You want to detect it early when you could do something easily about it, and when your chances for survival are going to be 80 to 90+%. They can be much higher than when you get to stage 3 and stage 4. So if I'm making the recommendation for my wife, my mom, my family, I'm recommending the torso MRI first. I'm then recommending the QT-UT, or the quantitative transmission ultrasound tomography, then the thermography, and last, I'm recommending the mammogram. Again, I'm not providing new medical advice, but this is what I'm using in my practice, my recommendations for my family, and hopefully this was helpful. Of course, if it was, I just ask you that you share this information with anyone else that you believe it could serve. We need to get this information out there. Remember, conventional medicine is going to give you one option, and that's a mammogram. And how do you know that you're not one of those 25 cases, which I believe is many exponential multiples more than that? So feel free to share the show. It's episode 3049 of the Cabral Concept. You can find all the details at stephencabral.com/3049. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing rest of the day. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.